Hi, I'm Lynn from the Darbin Orvar YouTube channel, and today I'm going to show how to make a mallet in 3 different ways. Now, the mallet is one of the most useful tools in the shop. I mean, it's great for chisel work, assembly, and just general tasks. Plus, it's also a great example of how fun and easy it can be to make your own tools. However, there's not just one way to make a mallet. One rather fun way is to use the lathe. Here you can either use a square piece of wood, or you can go out and find yourself a log. This is walnut. If you're using a log, then it's a good idea to remove as much of the bark as possible and make the wood as round as possible before putting it on the lathe. At least if you have a modest size lathe like I do. Once you have the wood down to a manageable size, you can start turning. And here, you can really go by feel and the size and shape of your wood to determine the shape. I like to start with a roughing gouge and then work my way down to a square bit and then a round bit chisel for the curves. A round carver's mallet like this is really nice to have around for a variety of tasks, especially finer chisel work. One of the most popular methods to use to make a mallet is to laminate one. At first look, a solid head mallet and a laminated mallet may look similar, however, they are constructed quite differently. A laminated mallet is made up of several pieces that are glued together, and then the handle is glued in and wedged in place to get a good tight fit. And of course, I start with milling up some wood, and I'm cutting the sides here at a 5-degree angle. This is walnut. I'm following the angle here and marking out the interior pieces, and I'm also marking out circles with a compass. I'm drilling out the holes with a drill, and the reason for this is to add some lead weight to the mallet for extra weight, which is a completely optional step. Now, I've cut the sections with holes in them, and I'm gluing these pieces onto a solid piece and adding some lead in the holes. Then I'm gluing on the final piece here, and you can see that these pieces are sandwiched together, with a hole in the middle cut at the same 5-degree angle as the sides. Now it's just a matter of clamping this head together and letting it set up. Next, on to the handle. So I'm checking the width of the hole with a marking gauge and then marking that distance on a handle piece. This is oak. Also, I'm marking the thickness of the head here and then cutting the wood down to the appropriate size on the bandsaw, cleaning it up with a chisel and fitting the handle in. The handle needs to be wedged in here, so I'm marking out where the wedges should go and cutting these slits on the bandsaw. And then I'm cutting up some wedges here, and I'm using walnut for that. To clean up and round over the head, I'm using a plane. I'm also rounding over the sides of the handle. Now time to glue it all together. So I'm putting some glue on the handle here, and I'm also gluing in the wedges. And that secures the handle to the head. Once they have dried, they are easy enough to cut off. And then I'm finishing this mallet with some oil finish. Now it's time for the solid head mallet. When making this type of mallet, you need a thicker piece of wood, since it will all be made of one piece, and the wood won't be glued together. So I'm starting with cutting up a block for the head here, and then planing it to get it nice and straight. Then I'm laying out my marks, and this is one of the most important steps when making a mallet. If you get this right, then everything else will follow. So I'm finding the center, marking out the width of my handle, and then bringing down the angle on the sides. When the head is marked, I start with drilling some holes to remove some of the interior. I drill halfway down on one side, trying to follow the angle of the sides, then flip it over and drill the other side. At this point, I'm ready to start chiseling, and I'm starting out quite gentle at first to define my lines, and then I can move on to chiseling more out at a time. Once I have the head roughly chiseled out, I'm marking out the piece for the handle, how wide it needs to be, marking my angle, and then cutting to size on the bandsaw. Now the trick when making a solid head mallet is to take your time and do careful chisel work, because you want the handle to fit in really tightly, because it won't be glued in there. However, it can't be too tight or it won't go in, and you definitely don't want it too loose. So there's a lot of testing, fitting and doing a little more chisel work to get a good fit. Once the handle fits well within the head, I'm running the edges of the handle, cutting off the top part here, and also shaping the top part. I'm also using the chisel, the plane and the spoke shave to shape the head and get it to a size that I like. Then a little sanding and finishing with some wax polish. So those were a couple of different ways to make a mallet, and I mean, I really love making mallets. I think they are a lot of fun. And I mean, personally, my favorite is definitely the solid head mallet because it's the strongest design. It only requires 2 pieces of wood and you hit on end grain, which is really nice. Plus, I really like how you can take apart the mallet and remove the handle because it's wedged in there. Like this. So you can always take it apart and have 2 pieces. Of course, the laminated mallet is a great option if you don't have access to rough sawn lumber, and it requires a little bit less physical work. But then again, if you have access to a lathe, then turning a mallet is a lot of fun. So yeah, my name is Lynn. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, Darbin Orvar, where you can find lots more projects. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
If you liked this video, subscribe to our channel or send us a comment on Facebook or Twitter. Be sure to check out our other project videos or visit us on makezine.com.